10 years ago, on the night of October 31st, a small Midwestern town fell victim to an escaped killer. Under the cover of darkness, he carried out the most horrifying mass murder on record. 16 people in cold blood. Ever since that night, no one has forgotten his name. And Halloween has never been the same.
Halloween 4: The Return of Michael Myers is a 1988 horror film that rejoins the storyline of the notorious masked serial killer. The story begins October 30th, 1988. Michael Myers has been in a coma for a decade since the explosion at Haddonfield Memorial Hospital. He is set to be transferred from the federal Ridgemont Sanitarium over to the state Smith Grove Sanitarium in Smiths Grove, Illinois, per federal laws that stipulate that a comatose prisoner must be transferred to a state-run facility after 10 years.
Yeah, the one you're picking up? Just thinking about him gives me the willies. A decade ago, Halloween night, he murdered 16 people, maybe more, trying to get to his sister. Nearly got it, too. But his doctor, of all people, shot him 6 times. Then he set him on fire. Both of them nearly burned to death.
His transfer is overseen by Dr. Hoffman, played by Michael Pataki. While in the ambulance, Michael Myers awakens and overhears the attendants mention that his only real surviving family is his 7-year-old niece, Jamie Lloyd, living in Haddonfield.
Did Hoffman say anything about living relatives?
Yeah, a niece living in his hometown. And she's too young to be his legal ward.
So the state owns him? Great.
No, I still don't understand.
In Haddonfield, Illinois, young Jamie Lloyd, played by Danielle Harris, is the 7-year-old daughter of Laurie Strode, who was supposedly killed in a car accident about 1 year prior. Having been adopted by the Carruthers family, she finds herself mourning the loss of her mother. She laments these feelings to her foster sister, 17-year-old Rachel Carruthers, played by Ellie Cornell.
Do you love me, Rachel?
Serious questions tonight. Of course I love you.
Like a sister?
Jamie, sometimes
Like a real sister?
We're not really sisters, Jamie. But that doesn't mean that I love you any less.
The following day, October 31st, 1988, Halloween, Dr. Sam Loomis, played by Donald Pleasance, arrives at Ridgemont Sanitarium and scolds the federal hospital that transferred Michael.
Do you know what today is? Do you know the date? Every day I look at myself in the mirror and every day I remember. Look at me, Hoffman. Take a good look. I don't want anyone to have to live through that night again.
Soon after, he discovers that Michael has escaped, and he has a pretty good idea where he's probably headed.
Michael could have been thrown from the bus.
I've seen bodies thrown 50, 60 feet from a crash site.
Even if by some miracle Michael is conscious, his muscles will be totally useless. Give the troopers a chance to search.
You're talking about him as if he were a human being. That part of him died years ago.
On his way to Haddonfield, Loomis heads to a gas station in rural Illinois, only to find murder victims, including a mechanic with his clothes missing. There, Dr. Loomis finds himself face to face with Michael Myers.
Michael? You waited 10 years. I knew this day would come. Don't go to Haddonfield. If you want another victim, take me. But leave those people in peace. Please. Michael. God damn you.
Michael drives away from the gas station, headed for Haddonfield, and taking down the local phone lines in the process. Meanwhile, Jamie is picked on by awful kids at her school, who torment her for being an orphan, as well as the niece of the boogeyman.
Where's your mask, or are you wearing it? I don't need to wear a stupid costume. That's because every day is Halloween at Jamie's house, right, Jamie? Because your uncle's the boogeyman. Boogeyman, boogeyman. Jamie's uncle's a boogeyman.
Deciding that she wants to participate in Halloween, she and Rachel head to the discount mart to pick out a Halloween costume. Rachel informs her boyfriend Brady, played by Sasha Jensen, that she has to babysit Jamie and cannot spend Halloween night with him.
My parents' babysitter canceled.
So?
So I have to watch Jamie tonight.
When did you find this out?
This morning.
Well, you found out this morning. Well, why didn't you tell me before? I mean, it's 5 o'clock now, Rachel.
Don't get angry.
I'm not angry, it's just... Can I come over after Jamie goes to sleep?
My parents are going to come home early tonight.
So?
I don't know, Brady.
Okay. I guess I'll call you later.
As Jamie looks at costumes, Michael grabs a mask and slips away.
Jamie, what happened?
It was the Nightmare Man.
What?
He's coming to get me, Rachel.
You're okay. You probably saw a mask and it scared you. At least you're not cut.
After hitching a ride from an eccentric preacher played by Carmen Philpe, Dr. Loomis arrives at the county sheriff's office in Haddonfield. He meets with the current sheriff, Ben Meeker, played by Beau Starr.
I need to speak with Sheriff Brackett.
Brackett retired back in 81. Moved to St. Petersburg.
Oh, well, who's the new sheriff?
I am. Ben Meeker.
Oh, Sheriff Meeker. My name is Dr.
Loomis. Folks around here aren't likely to forget your face. He's not cops. So it brings you back here after 10 years.
Michael Myers has escaped from Richmond. He's here in Haddonfield.
Why?
10 years ago, he tried to kill Laurie Strode. Now he wants her daughter.
Myers has been locked up since before she was born. He's never laid eyes on her.
6 bodies! Sheriff, that's what I've seen between here and Richmond. A filling station in flames. I tell you, Michael Myers is here in this town. He's here to kill that little girl and anybody who gets in his way.
And assuming what you say is true.
It's true, Sheriff.
All right, it is true. The hell can we do to avoid a repeat of 10 years ago?
Find this little girl, get her someplace safe. Call the local TV station. Tell them to get people off the streets and behind locked doors.
Can't get long distance, Sheriff. Operator says the lines are down.
All right, let's go.
When he makes that call.
All right, Pierce, do it. Let's check on this little girl.
As their parents leave for the night, Rachel and Jamie head out to go trick-or-treating. Michael menacingly watches the two as they leave while walking around their house. As Jamie arrives to trick-or-treat at the house of Sheriff Meeker, Rachel sees the sheriff's daughter, Kelly, played by Kathleen Kinmont, passing out candy in a wonderful t-shirt and panties, entertaining Brady as her Halloween night guest. During the verbal spat, Rachel loses sight of Jamie as she takes off trick-or-treating with other kids. At a Haddonfield bar, local TV news reports mention that Michael Myers has escaped and that the sheriff's office is asking all businesses in Haddonfield to close and for all residents to get off the streets and return to their homes. This frustrates the bar owner, Earl Ford, played by Gene Ross. He and a group of men decide to head to the sheriff's office. Meanwhile, Dr. Loomis and Sheriff Meeker, alongside Deputy Logan, played by George Sullivan, head to the Carruthers house to check on Jamie. They find the house empty, but Loomis realizes that Michael has been there.
He's been here.
How do you know? This is starting to spook me, Doc.
Please, I'm not alone.
At the local power plant, Michael confronts an electrician.
What are you, deaf? Don't try that Halloween shit with me.
And uses his body to take down the local power grid, knocking out all power and phone lines in Haddonfield and the surrounding areas. After being left behind in the dark as other children have been picked up by frantic parents, Jamie is eventually reunited with Rachel. The two are quickly picked up by Loomis and Meeker. Meeker heads to the sheriff's office to find it completely ransacked and full of dead cops.
How can a man do this, Loomis? Tell me.
It isn't a man.
What is he? Tell me! The hell are we dealing with?
Evil.
Afterwards, he is met by Earl and his gang of armed country folk, who angrily confront him about Michael Myers.
How many people killed back then? How many kids?
Al here lost his boy 10 years back.
Well, not this time, Ben. I'll handle this my own way. We're gonna fry his ass.
Son of a bitch, you just created a lynch mob.
You haven't got a police force. These men may be the only defense you've got.
Meeker informs Deputy Logan that he and Loomis are taking Rachel and Jamie to his house, where he will lock them inside and use his CB radio to contact the state police for immediate assistance. At the house, the sheriff's daughter Kelly is having a passionate makeout session with Brady just as they arrive.
Where's the radio?
Right through the kitchen, you'll see the basement stairs. Brady, you know how to use a gun?
Oh, yes, sir.
Think you can handle that?
Yeah, you want to tell me what's happening?
Yeah, when I have time. You got your riot gun?
Talk to my squad.
Go get it. Take these. Okay, you got a hammer and roofing nails, and I want you up in the attic, securing it so nobody can get in.
You know, something's happening. I should just go ahead and call my parents.
Just get up in the attic. Oh, yeah. I'll catch you grope my daughter. I'll use that shotgun on you. You understand?
Earl and his gang drive around Haddonfield looking for Michael Myers, only to find themselves accidentally shooting and killing an innocent civilian who they mistook for Michael.
Shit, Earl. It's Ted Hollister.
You dumb son of a bitch. You said you saw Myers.
How's it powered?
Batteries. I planned a generator for the house next week. I wish I hadn't waited. This is Squawk, 790 Haddonfield, broadcasting on the State Police Emergency Frequency. Can anyone hear me? Can anyone hear me? Damn it!
Back at the sheriff's house, Loomis decides to leave and search for Michael himself.
Leave Myers for the state, boys.
The state police won't know how to stop him.
Do you?
Maybe nobody knows how to stop him. But I've got to try.
Hearing over the radio that a civilian was killed in the streets, Sheriff Meeker decides to leave the house as well, tasking Rachel to stand by the radio until word comes that state troopers are en route.
Maybe you ought to wait here till they do.
Hey, I got a town full of beer bellies running around the dock with shotguns. Who's gonna be next? Somebody's wife, somebody's kid. I can't stand by for that.
Michael, already in the house, continues his reign of terror, killing Deputy Logan as well as the sheriff's daughter. Rachel, Brady, and Jamie, locked in the house, move towards the roof to try and escape the evil wrath of Michael Myers.
I've got you! I've got you!
After the failure of 1982's Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, it was clear that any new sequel would have to feature the storyline of Michael Myers. Series creator John Carpenter teamed up with Dennis Etchison and wrote a treatment for this movie that had a more ghostly psychological approach. Basically, the plot was that Michael Myers was dead and that Haddonfield had banned Halloween, but that the fear of Michael Myers brought back a repressed ghost or spirit or something like that. The producers said, no way. If Michael comes back, he needs to be a flesh and blood killer. The cops chasing after him, Dr. Loomis chasing after him, basically go back to the basics of Halloween. At that point, Carpenter and Hill sold their remaining interest in the Halloween series to producer Mustafa Akkad, who promptly developed this film with a completely new script and fashioned it around the slasher film boom of the 1980s. Mustafa Akkad would continue to produce all Halloween films until his murder in an Al-Qaeda terrorist attack in Amman, Jordan during his daughter's wedding in November 2005. Akkad, his daughter, and 58 others would perish. The script was written by Cleveland, Ohio native Alan B. McElroy, who wrote the script in just 11 days to beat the 1988 writer's strike by mere hours. He has a brief cameo in the film playing a state trooper. The movie was directed by Dwight Little. Before the script was picked out, filmmakers asked Jamie Lee Curtis if she would reprise her role as Laurie Strode. She declined, so the fourth film's leading female character, Jamie Lloyd, was developed as Laurie's daughter and replacement. Jamie Lee Curtis was hot off of movies like Trading Places and A Fish Called Wanda, and at the time, she was kind of seen as being past her Scream Queen days. She would eventually return to play Laurie Strode again in the 1990s, the 2000s, the 2010s, and the 2020s. Donald Pleasance was the only actor from the first two films to reprise his role in this movie. He was 69 years old at the time of filming. Something had to be done to acknowledge the improbability of Dr. Loomis's survival from the hospital explosion at the end of Halloween 2, so the filmmakers gave him some burn scars on his hand and the right side of his face. The handgun Dr. Loomis uses in this movie is a 9mm Smith & Wesson 639 with pearl grips. Lisa Wilcox and Rebecca Schaefer auditioned for the role of Rachel Carruthers. This was the film debut of Danielle Harris, who was 11 years old playing the 7-year-old Jamie Lloyd. The character's name in the original script was Bridie Lloyd, but was changed to give homage to Jamie Lee Curtis. Melissa Joan Hart auditioned for the role of Jamie Lloyd. The movie was filmed in and around Salt Lake City, Utah from April to May of 1988. Filming lasted 41 days, and Ellie Cornell and Danielle Harris were required to be on set for 36 of those days. In this film, Michael is played by stuntman and actor George P. Wilbur. He was 47 years old playing the 31-year-old Michael Myers. George Wilbur wore hockey pads under his jumpsuit to try and give Michael a much more imposing figure, and he does a great job giving Michael a large and sinister look in this movie. I had the pleasure of meeting George P. Wilbur at a Halloween event at an indoor family fun center in October of 1997. I remember he was a very nice man. Just so Danielle Harris wouldn't be scared, George Wilbur would often lift his mask up between takes to remind her that they were just making a movie and that he was not really going to slaughter her. According to director Dwight Little and actress Kathleen Kinmont, they filmed one or more nude scenes with the actress, including an actual topless version of the scene where she takes off her lacy white bra in front of the fireplace. For some ungodly reason, the naked version was not included in any final cut. Dwight Little did extensive research on the history of Halloween, and many of its harvest images were put into the creepy opening sequence. Leaves had to be imported, and squash was painted to look like pumpkins. The opening title sequence is one that is widely beloved by Halloween fans because it shows a very eerie late afternoon autumn Midwestern landscape. Anyone who grew up in the Midwestern United States is familiar with those eerie, brisk fall evenings. Alan Howarth, the film's main composer, referenced the musical score of the original Halloween film, but included a synthesizer twist. Upon its release on October 21st, 1988, Halloween 4 grossed a total of $17.8 million on a budget of only $5 million. This made Halloween 4 a rather decent box office success compared to most late 1980s horror movies. Halloween 4 was the #1 movie at the United States box office for 2 weeks straight in October of 1988. 1988 was the first year in which the Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, and Jason Voorhees franchises all released new films in the same year. Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers, Friday the 13th Part 7, The New Blood, and A Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master. I love this movie. I actually saw it in the 1990s, and I received the VHS tape of this movie along with the 1978 original as a birthday present from my parents for my 12th birthday in October of 2000. I remember coming home from school the next day, a Friday, getting a slice of Dairy Queen ice cream cake and putting this movie in the VCR. Later that night, my mother took my best friend and I to a haunted house. Good birthday memories. Good Halloween memories. The cast and characters in this film are fantastic. Donald Pleasance is great as always. Little Danielle Harris is very convincing as a screaming, crying, petrified little girl. Beau Starr Sheriff Meeker is an awesome badass, and his character is so much better than the asshole sheriff from the first 2 films.
I get the outside shutters.
What are we doing?
Making sure no one can get in here.
Isn't all this a little paranoid?
If you'd seen that police station, you wouldn't even ask.
Ellie Cornell is cute, kicks ass as Rachel Carruthers.
Die, you son of a bitch!
Kathleen Kinmont's character of Kelly Meeker is sexy as hell as the sheriff's sultry daughter, and her death scene is one of the most iconic in the Halloween franchise. Even Sasha Jensen's horny character of Brady is likable, and he redeems himself by trying his best to save Rachel and Jamie from Michael Myers. Of course, he gets his head popped like a fucking zit, but at least he went out like a hero. If the first 2 Halloween films take place basically on the same night in 1978, and the third Halloween film has nothing to do with Michael Myers, then in a lot of ways, Halloween 4 is the first real sequel, and that's why it works so well. I'm going to give this movie 8 out of 10 stars, and I'm tempted to go even higher. It is a very high-quality horror film of the late 1980s, and a must-see for any Halloween fans. I highly recommend Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers.